I'm Artistic Gamer 7 and welcome back to another speed build video here on the channel. This is obviously part 2 of the industrial meets eco home build that I was doing. So basically, if you missed part 1, I should have a link in the description for part 1, so you can go check out that real quick before we head on further into part 2. Now, like I mentioned at the end of part 1, part 2 is going to focus more onto this other home section, which is the stronger eco-friendly section. So this is mainly where the actual family will be living, and that's more of their residence now. Because the shipping containers originally was a home-like thing for, I just made up a random family in my head idea. I tend to like to have, even if I don't make the actual Sims, I tend to actually like to try to think about what Sims are potentially living here and like have ideas so that I can go off that to actually make the house build itself. Basically so that I could sort of try to get a little bit more personality into the house compared to just randomly building. So yeah, basically my thought process was the guy was living in the shipping containers that were being reused, but his like style and the way he was doing things was more stronger industrial. But then he meets someone and they obviously end up getting together, and she is more eco-friendly, and she still reuses the shipping containers because don't want to necessarily actually like just get rid of them to be clutter somewhere in the way or potentially like do harm somewhere. So they do keep them and they do like reuse them, but they also add this part of the home which has a lot of reused wooding and like flooring and stuff like that, so that it is still more of an eco-friendly. And this is where their family basically lives. Now there is ladders everywhere to get up to because, you know, this was the first build where I got to technically use ladders in it, which I was excited for. So I did use ladders. There is no stairs, which in reality would be hard if you have someone like a toddler, which I do make a toddler room. It's not impossible, but it would be hard because there are like the things where you can actually attach like toddlers to your backs and stuff. So I'm sure that's a way that you could do it, but it's not a very safe way. But because of trying to save on space and also wanting to use the ladders, I did use the ladders instead. So if you do end up downloading this build for yourself, feel free to change one or both of the ladders. One of the ladders only goes up to the master bedroom, so that's not really a section that the toddler or the kid would have to be worrying about. So you can probably easily get away with just changing the one that's down in the shipping container section, which there honestly probably is enough room to move things around easily in there and actually make stairs instead of a ladder to make a little bit more sense for like the toddler and the kid that are in the house. But, you know, in my head I'm just going with they have a way around that. So, or like, you know, they do the little carry on the back thing or whatever. Like they have a system for it. So in the main part of the house, I didn't just use like eco lifestyle stuff, but I did use quite a bit of it. I tried to use majorly that stuff on both sides. And what stuff I didn't use from eco living, I was like in my head, I'm like, well, they probably have like found this in a dumpster or been hand-me-downs from family, things like that, so that it still wasn't like a waste. And they didn't go out and buy too much stuff. Obviously, they still probably had to go and buy a few things, because realistically, trying to find everything you want or need in a dumpster, or like a little area where you dump stuff off, probably would be really hard to do and really take a really long time. And considering you have like a family, it's not like you can wait. But obviously probably some of this furniture was either made or built over time by the family members before their family started growing. But at the same time, just realistically speaking, not all of it's probably from recycled, and some of it, a lot of it's probably hand-me-down type things, which I sort of like the idea of as well. I did actually put bb.show hidden objects to actually get some of the fabricated stuff, because I was imagining that, you know, one of them is good at fabrication, and that is how, one of the ways that they make money. I was sort of leaning more towards him, that he sort of, even though he had sort of this stronger industrial lifestyle, he was basically starting to make things and learning how to make stuff, and that's how he sort of got his living going. And I also did try to use the color green more often, like even different shades of green, because of the fact that we're going with the theme of eco and greenhouse and things like that, like plants and stuff like that. So I did try to keep like those, I guess, sort of earthy tones, because green technically could be considered earth, like, because of grass, like, with brown dirt and then grass. So yeah, I did actually use green more so than I usually use green in houses. I actually don't mind the color green, but a lot of the greens that sometimes you see, if they're not actually plants, a lot of the greens in here tend to be like paler greens to a certain extent, or like these like weird shades of green, and I like more of the brighter greens, or like the heading into the pastel greens, versus these like muted greens, olivey, and those tones. So I don't tend to actually use them too often, and it's just also like trying to get colors together. I tend to lean more towards blacks, whites, tans, creams, browns, and blues for some reason, and blue's not even my favorite color either. Red is actually my favorite color, but the thing with red is I know that it's not everyone's like style, and red is one of those colors that's sort of so bright a lot of the times and in your face that I'm like, it would make sense to use it all the time, but if I personally was like making for me, there'd probably be a lot more red. But yeah, so I did try to keep a lot of these greens, and it was that more like olivey, muted type green. I don't know how to describe it, but it was more leaning towards that green. So not only do I not usually use greens, and I'm using greens, but I was using the greens that I would less likely use. But so yeah, anyway, in the main house, you've already seen the kitchen, which was definitely more towards some darker tones with some little hints of green here and there. It's sort of the kitchen, dining room. It's very close together, but there's no way that this house could have had both, plus the other rooms that I wanted. It also has a toddler's room and a like child's room, and then a bathroom, and this is all on the main floor, connected by that little like hallway sort of thing going on. And then there upstairs is the master bedroom, the master bath, and the balcony. So that is the little living quarters for the family section. Now, like I said in the first part, if you do want to download this build, it should be up on my gallery, available for you to download and enjoy in your own game. My origin ID is ArtisticGamer7, and if you cannot find this build, or for some reason, like, you just don't see it, you're overlooking it, or some reason the gallery's being weird and it's not showing. I know that I've had like issues in the past, and some people have also had issues in the past for some reason. The gallery just sometimes randomly doesn't show stuff, or it sorts it weird for some reason. I know even doing like my monthly collabs that I've done in the past, people's builds after like so long would disappear or not show up very well under like certain like typing in certain things. But yeah, so sometimes I haven't like really fully dived into the gallery recently to see how that still works and see if they fixed some of those issues that I would run into. But yeah, I just know that it does have a tendency to sometimes be weird and sometimes hide stuff behind custom content, and it's not actually custom content. I don't think any of my stuff that doesn't actually have custom content in it has gotten put in behind that wall, but sometimes that might happen. But yeah, if you can't find it, please let me know either on Twitter or even down in the comments section, and I will try to help you be able to find it. It may just be overlooking it, or the gallery glitching, so I can get on like the little online mode and send you like the link to it instead of going straight from the gallery from the game itself. Also realizing I didn't technically say the name, I basically said it at the very beginning, but to just reiterate, it is also going to be called the Industrial Meets Eco up on the gallery, so you can search that name to try to find it, or just go straight to Artistic Gamer 7, which is obviously where you will find all of my builds, as well as a few cast creations. I don't tend to put my Sims up because I always make my Sims with custom content. Unlike the builds, I don't use custom content, so I don't put them up unless it's for certain reasons, or if they're requested. So if you're ever watching any of my Create a Sim videos and you do want at least the base form of that Sim over in your game, feel free to let me know, and I will upload those if people are interested in those. But as of right now, I don't tend to upload them unless there is interest in them being up there. Also, with this kids' room, I realized when I went to go back and take the pictures, I actually left that little owl light and the llama in the floor. I had intentions of like eventually setting them somewhere, and I wasn't sure where I was going to set them or how I was going to put them or anything like that, but I knew that I was going to use them. I just didn't know in what way yet or where. So they end up staying in the floor. I completely forget about them as I continue decorating the child's room. So yeah, they're just sort of in the floor, and I decided just to go with it, almost like the child had been in there playing and sat them there in the floor. So yeah, those are in the floor, but you can obviously move them pretty easily if you want to. And as you can now see, I am now in the toddler's room, and like I had mentioned in the last video, that little roof section over there, I do have plants going up the side of the roof and onto the top. And there were some that would glitch inside, but some of them wasn't too bad, and where they were at, the roof technically didn't have a room right next to it, but some did. So I do delete some of the plants if they seem to be peeking in too much, and if they especially was more of a noticeable height versus something along the lines of basically at the very top of the ceiling where you probably would almost never pay attention to it. If that gets annoying to you, you can delete some of them. I did go with putting the plants up there because of the fact that I did extend the master bedroom and the master bath a little bit, just to give a little bit more room up there to actually like have a pretty decently sized room and bath. And it sort of poked out from the roof a little bit, so I was covering up with plants, and then I was trying to scatter the plants along the roof to make sense. And I also really wanted to put some of the vines dangling down from the side, so that just sort of made sense to try to put some plants going up the side of it to make it sort of fit in with the bottom half and the top half. But they are a little bit more scattered, and you could easily say that it's something because of the fact that it's on such an angle or arc that a lot of the plants didn't actually stick there to seed very well. So that's a thing that we could say. But in all honesty, some of them just looked really weird being there. But at this point, you can tell we are now in the master bedroom and master bath. I will say it's somewhat annoying to get into the master bathroom if you have the walls up, so just be prepared for that, just because of the whole roof thing basically makes it odd to get into and sort of deal with. I eventually put this planter out here. As you tell, randomly I decided to do this. It's partially because of the fact I really wanted to use this planter, but I just couldn't decide where to put it at. And eventually I decided outside here, and that is where it decided to stay. But I was also trying to put some more plants in it to try to sort of make a whole section and cover mostly the back of this couch. I don't end up covering a lot of the back of the couch. I just, you know, sort of do a few plants here and there and leave it as is. So, anyway, we probably should be coming up on the screenshots quite soon here. The way I had to edit this video, actually, I can't see exactly where the screenshots are about to begin like I normally can. I normally know ahead of time before they're about to start, but they should be starting very soon because we're finishing up the master bedroom here, and the master bath is not shown until the screenshots because all the bathrooms are taken out, and I actually forgot the master bath until I went to take screenshots also. And then the little balcony section out here. Please let me know down in the comments below how you liked this build. Was there certain parts of this build that you liked more than other parts? Would you actually use this in your own build, or anything like that? Feel free to just talk down in the comments below. I definitely would like to hear from y'all and hear what y'all think. Make sure to check out down in the description. There will be the Sims 4 build playlist, as well as my social media, so you can follow me on there. As far as the build playlist, I will let you know there is quite a few builds on there at this point, and the first so many of them are I say because I still don't think I'm great, but I'm definitely much better than I was. So the first so many builds were that still stage, and I also put a lot of my collab builds on there as well. So if you don't want to watch the whole talking about the collab things, you could easily skip those. But there is a lot of builds on there, so if you want to go back and check out some of my builds, definitely feel free to check out that playlist. And also make sure you hit that lovely like button if you enjoyed this video, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you are aware of when another video goes live. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the rest of the video and the screenshots, which should be popping up here soon, or if not already. Sometimes my voiceovers end up changing where they're at because I end up realizing there's parts that I forgot to edit out, so it gets a little off sometimes, but yeah. So those should be here soon, if not already, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye!